Okay, we're starting with Rowan because I can shut the fuck up. No, but genuinely, I loved working on this Rowan thing so much. Through this series of this is right after the Alejandro thing. Through the series of portraits, I was really able to actually hone in on a rendering style that I'm actually really happy with. So, genuinely, thank you all you guys for that because this is really fun. I love Rowan's color palette so much because it's so earthy and it's able to kind of tell a visual story without being too overt. Because his colors are all just different shades of brown and gray and very neutral tones. The only things that really peek out are the cloak, the clasp, the sea glass, and his eyes. And I love that. I love his cloak so much because I think that makes him pop is from his father. It's like this thing of like he just like like not that he wants to be normal, but like he wants to kind of hide some stuff about himself, but he can't. And Dimitri is part of that, a big part of that. I didn't know what I was gonna do for the background of his things. I didn't know how I was gonna do the glass route at all. Especially because I was even looking to almost buy Procreate brushes just so I could have some shattered glass. I was thinking of like a stained glass, but that's too like religious coated, I felt like. But yeah, I ended up coming up with a really fun thing of what if it's just, broken glass around him, like he's kind of the source of the shattering. So that's what I did, and I love what Grimm ended up bringing up was how it also looks like dying tree branches as well. Like it's very fun. And then I did a little drippy thing because kind of looks like ink, and I love him so much. Okay, all right. Next voiceover is for Alejandro. This was the first one that I did. I love it so. I just made them look at each other in the video today. Oh my god, cat's eye. But I loved working on Alejandro. It was the complete opposite of Rowan's when it came to the backgrounds because I immediately knew what I wanted to do. You can see me fixing that fucked up little star zipper right there. I immediately know I wanted it to have like kind of I dabbled with a lot of Van Gogh's Starry Night, but I'm like that's too stereotypical. So instead I went with a very like childlike background in the back because it's that thing of like everyone expects you to literally go for the stars to like try and like make something of yourself just because your fucking family couldn't do shit beforehand and stuff like that. And what's it called? I don't know. One, I love it for obvious reasons. I identify with Alejandro's like story and shit. So I wanted to kind of have that because while it's still like stars and everything, and it's that kind of like looming kind of promise or that looming kind of threat in the background almost. What's it called? You can see me adding the background there because I wanted it to have a dark background. I wanted it to kind of have like a very childlike kind of essence. So I really played around with how scribbly and sketchy, pun intended, it looks. And I really like how it looks. It looks like a kid's nightlight or like those like tacky paste on glow-in-the-dark stars. And I really loved it because it's like, he's still a kid. Like they're all barely adults when they go into the academy. So I loved working on this a lot. And we have Ori, our favorite, possibly genderqueer, or just in general, like our favorite Fennec Fox boy. I, again had for everyone but Rowan, I had a very clear image. Everyone but Rowan and Kai, actually, I had a very clear, thing with what I want to do with Ori immediately because I loved the idea of being drunk on anger. I loved the wine imagery. I loved that kind of like thing. I let myself loose with how like more jagged and like kind of more scribbly his rendering looks compared to everyone else's just because like it's there, it's like unbridled, it's not polished, and I love that. I love that a lot of Ori's characters, I kind of wanted to kind of portray that through everything being just a little bit more scribbly and a little bit more messy. Then I really had a lot of fun with the lettering here again, like with like the is it wine, is it blood, is it both kind of things like that, and how like almost honey like it looks as well. Like, oh my god, I loved playing with it, and I know it needs to drip on him because symbolism. I loved that concept of a character who's trying to like who needs to learn how to hold in his anger and challenge it. Then, of course, last but certainly not least, we have our favorite boy, Kai. Oh my god, superior farm boy, coming from the other farm boy. I love him so stinking much. Oh my god. He's so fun, and I love everything about, like, drawing this. I didn't know what I was gonna do for his background either. I was so fucking stumped. But it kind of came to me when I was like, what do I want his background color to be? So you can kind of see it in a second. It went really green for a second. What if it's like an ocean green? I'm like, oh, right. Because, again, I touched on this before, but like the purity and of just like pure water and bubbles and stuff like that of the sea and stuff like that. It's like bubble shield, but also like bubbling anger, and on top of that, like pure water contrasts with like a dark red wine thing with Ori's. But then also like his is a lot simpler, also bringing it back to Rowan, but then his is also a lighter background, and like the bubbles slightly illuminate, and like where the bubbles are placed are kind of how I like thought of where the lighting would be. So it's kind of like with Alejandro's as well, because his stars are what kind of kept the lighting in Alejandro's. Same thing with the bubbles, but it's more subtle with Kai's. And I really liked that. You can see me kind of fucking around with the scarf there. That scarf was a bitch to render, but it was so fun to figure out. It was like a nice challenge. And yeah, you can see the little finishing touches. I loved working on all these so much.